Nobody tells you this part. They talk about awakening like it's something beautiful, like you'll suddenly feel peace, clarity, light. But that's not what happens. What happens is that you break, slowly, quietly internally, and according to Carl Jung, this breaking isn't a mistake. It's the beginning. At first, it doesn't look like awakening at all. It looks like exhaustion, a kind of tiredness that sleep can't fix, a heaviness that doesn't leave, no matter how much you rest. You stop replying to messages. You stop caring about things that once felt important. You start pulling away from people without even knowing why. And everyone around you starts noticing. They ask, "What's wrong with you? Why are you acting different? Why are you becoming so cold?" But what they don't understand is this. You're not becoming cold. You're becoming aware. Carl Jung believed that empaths don't awaken into light. They awaken into truth. And truth is rarely comfortable. For most of your life, you thought your sensitivity was a gift. That being there for everyone, understanding everyone, absorbing everyone's emotions was who you are. But Jung saw something deeper. He saw that many empaths weren't born this way. They were shaped this way. As a child, you learned something very important. Maybe no one said it directly, but you felt it. That love had conditions. That being needed was the only way to be valued. So you adapted. You became the one who listens, the one who understands, the one who fixes everything. Not because you wanted to, but because it felt like survival. And over time, that role became your identity. So much so that you forgot it was a role. This is why awakening feels like destruction. Because you're not just changing habits. You're realizing the person you've been your entire life was never fully real. And when that realization hits, everything starts to collapse. You begin to notice things you never saw before. How some people only come to you when they need something. How certain relationships feel one-sided. How you've been giving and giving and giving without ever being truly seen. And that realization hurts. Not a little. Deeply. Because now you have to face a truth you avoided for years. You weren't just helping people. You were losing yourself. This is the breaking point. Jung described this as a kind of psychological death. Not of your body, but of your false self. And this is where most people turn back. Because what comes next is even harder. You start saying no. Not loudly, not aggressively. Just quietly, firmly. And suddenly, everything changes. People who used to love you start questioning you. People who depended on you start blaming you. People who benefited from your kindness start calling you selfish. And this confuses you. Because for the first time in your life, you're choosing yourself. But Jung warned about this moment. He said, when you stop being who people needed you to be, they will resist who you actually are. And that resistance hurts more than anything. Because you're not just losing people. You're losing a version of yourself that they loved. And even if that version was exhausting, even if it was slowly destroying you, it was familiar, it was safe, it was accepted. Now, you're stepping into the unknown. And the unknown feels lonely. But something else begins to happen. Something strange. As you stop giving your energy away, you start feeling it return. You wake up with more clarity. Your thoughts feel sharper. Your emotions feel more real. You start wanting things, not for others, but for yourself. And for the first time, you feel alive. Jung called this the return of your true self. Not the version built for others, but the version that exists underneath all of it. And with this return comes something powerful, discernment. Before, you felt everything. Everyone's emotions, everyone's pain, all at once. But now, you start seeing clearly. You can still feel people, but you're no longer controlled by them. You can recognize manipulation without falling into it. You can see dysfunction without trying to fix it. And this changes everything. Because your sensitivity, which once felt like a burden, becomes a strength. But this transformation has a cost, a real cost. You will lose people. Not maybe. You will. Because relationships built on your self-sacrifice cannot survive your self-respect. And that loss will hurt. You'll grieve friendships. You'll question yourself. You'll wonder if you're making a mistake. But Jung made something very clear. This pain is necessary because you can't become who you truly are without letting go of who you had to be. And slowly, through the confusion, through the loneliness, through the breaking, something new begins to form. A version of you that doesn't need approval, that doesn't fear being alone, that doesn't abandon itself to keep others. You become quieter, not because you have nothing to say, but because you finally have nothing to prove. You become selective, not because you don't care, but because you finally understand your worth. You become real, and real is something most people are not ready for. That's why your presence starts to feel different to others. Not louder, not stronger, just more honest. And honesty makes people uncomfortable because when you stop pretending, it exposes everyone who still is. This is why some people walk away, not because you push them, but because your truth reveals their masks. And that's okay, because what you're building now is something you never had before. A life where you don't have to lose yourself to belong. A life where your sensitivity is yours, not everyone else's. A life that is finally aligned with who you are. Carl Jung believed that this process cannot be rushed, cannot be avoided, and cannot happen without pain. But he also found something remarkable. Every empath who goes through this, who truly awakens, says the same thing in the end. They wouldn't go back, not to the old relationships, not to the old identity, not to the version of themselves that everyone loved, but that was slowly disappearing because what they become is worth everything they lost. Stronger, clearer, whole. And for the first time in their life, they don't feel like they're performing. They feel like they're finally home.